Cool. Take it away, Tim.
All right, so I am Tim. We do these classes generally once a month on a Tuesday. And as always, if Rebecca has your email, you will get a link to the presentation slides, and you will also gain a link to the actual presentation in video format. One of the nice things about having the slides is if we run this class again, slash the next time we run this class again, any changes, you'll still be able to see the changes because we update every presentation. So if you look from a presentation from 2 or 3 years ago, you'll still be able to see updated information on that. All right, so today we're going to be talking about files and folders. I'm currently doing this presentation from a Mac computer, but I'm also remoted into a Windows computer. So we will be able to see the difference and the vast number of similarities. This is kind of a don't reinvent the wheel scenario. A lot of people, you know, are pretty able to transition between the two operating systems, primarily because they keep doing homages to each other, aka copying each other. If you have any questions, we will have sections where we'll pause, and we will also have the ability to read the chat or hit the raise hand button if you're on Zoom. So the first thing I always like to mention is right click. When dealing with files and folders, a lot of what you'll be doing, you'll just want to right click on the file or folder. For example, you can right click to create a folder. That's generally how you create them. In order to move a file, the easiest way I know of, or the most consistent way I know of, is to right click on the file and then copy it or cut it in order to paste it in the new location. On both of these systems, Mac, Windows, and also on a Chrome base or Chromebook, you are able to drag and drop files. I'll show you an example of this later, but one of the reasons I don't prefer to use drag and drop is it's possible to drag it and then accidentally drop it in a location that you did not plan on dropping it, and then you have to spend time trying to figure out where it ended up. So right click, very useful. On Windows, you'll use the bottom right of the trackpad, or you'll use the right hand button on your mouse, or you can select the option to allow you to use two fingers and tap the trackpad in order to right click. Apple, it's pretty much the exact same thing. Right mouse button, use two fingers and tap the trackpad, or you can hold Control and just do a left click. Chrome, same thing, except instead of Control for Mac to open the contextual menu of right click, you would hit Alt. So for files and folders, you can think of a file like a single piece of paper. And this could be a document, a photo, song, video, whatever. And you can think of a folder like a physical filing cabinet, right? So this is where you keep your files. The whole reason that folders exist are to kind of make everything nice and organized. Different people have different organizational styles. I'll show you mine in a little bit, but definitely feel free to organize your files and folders however you deem necessary for your use case. What I like to say is you can be the smartest person in the world. I occasionally think I am, and always wrong, but sometimes I'm too smart for my own good. So I will create a file and folder structure that at that exact moment in time makes a whole lot of sense. And then I go back a month later and I have no idea where anything is. So I like to keep it basic, and we'll show you that in a little bit as well. The other thing is files and folders take up space. So just to quickly put it in context, I'm going to use 512 gigabytes as an example. That's a fairly standard hard drive size these days. And it's just the amount of data that your computer can hold. It can hold a lot, but it's not unlimited. And I have some examples on the right-hand side here. For photos, we can say that, a high resolution photo might be 5 to 10 megabytes. If you average 5 on a hard drive the size of 512, you could hold approximately 100,000 photos. So a very substantial number. Music, it's a kind of a similar thing. You can hold roughly 100,000 songs. Videos, these take up a lot more space. So if you're ever needing to get space on your computer, one of the first things to do is to see if you have any videos, because those will take up a large amount compared to other file types. For documents and smaller files, so these are things like Word documents, Excel documents, Notepad documents, notes, and all that stuff. Those are also generally very, very small. So you can store an almost unfathomable amount. If you're ever looking to free up space, deleting Word documents is not going to be the primary way to do that. The next question, and one of the things that we'll talk about later and throughout this presentation, is the cloud. So a lot of computers, pretty much every computer you can buy, will automatically have some cloud storage built in, and that's because everyone offers cloud storage. If you buy a Windows computer, it will automatically have OneDrive installed. If you buy a Mac, it automatically has iCloud set up. And if you have a Chromebase or Chromebook, you'll automatically get Google Drive. Generally, these will have fairly small free tiers. The way I like to think about it is if you only want to store documents, and by documents, I mean like Word documents, Excel documents, and that kind of thing, then the free tier is going to be enough for you. If you want to store things like photos, that's when they're going to get you to either have a really bad experience where it will constantly say you don't have enough storage space, or you'll pay for storage space. And you can always, live with the free amount and just very carefully curate what you have stored. But one of the things I like to do in my advanced age is not worry about things. And I find cloud storage allows me to not worry about whether or not my files are still there, because it's stored offsite off my computer. I can break my computer and my files and folders are still there in all of their glory. In this example, you have a computer with 512 gigabytes of storage space, and you bought a big amount of cloud storage, 2 terabytes. How does that work? Your computer is roughly a quarter the size of the cloud storage you have. So it has more storage than your physical hard drive. Basically, what this allows you to do is to store things in the cloud, but not have them taking up space on your computer. So you can think of it like an offsite warehouse or like a storage container that you can kind of store all of your extra stuff in, but if you need it, you can easily retrieve it. And the reason why you can do this is because of offloading. So whenever you upload something, or whenever you save a document to your computer, if you save it in your cloud drive, so OneDrive or iCloud, for example, after a while, it will intelligently determine that you have not accessed that file in a very long time if you're running out of storage space on your computer. It will then offload it so you can see a representation of it. So you can see like a small, basically a thumbnail image of it, where it'll still show as something that's on your computer, but whenever you go to open it, it will then download it from the internet. This is really convenient, just from the standpoint of the whole not thinking principle of files and folders, but it is also inconvenient if you have files that you maybe only access once a year, like tax information, and all of a sudden you're in a place where you don't have internet, you want to do your taxes, and all that stuff has been offloaded and you no longer have it on your computer. And we can talk about how to force some items to stay on your computer in that scenario. More likely though, even if you have 2 TB of cloud storage and a 512 GB hard drive, you will not use up the 2 TB of storage. That is a massive quantity that most people won't reach. The next reason why cloud storage is nice is backup and accessibility. Everything that you save to it, which you can set as default of everything, all of it will be saved. So again, if your computer dies, or if for some reason you need to use a new computer because you don't have access to your current computer, you can always log into your cloud storage and all of your files and folders will still be there. And then syncing. This is the big one for me, apart from backing up. But syncing allows you to have multiple computers. And instead of using like a USB drive or emailing files to yourself, you can just use cloud storage. And if you make a change on computer A and you go to computer B, you will see that change. You will see the updated document. You will see all the photos you just took from your phone automatically on your computer. You don't have to transfer anything. Everything is just synced between your multiple devices. All right, I'm going to take a quick break, 1 sec, and I'll be right back. All right, do we have any questions before we move on? Cool. All right. So Mac Finder and Windows File Explorer. These are the two ways that you will access your files and folders. On the left-hand side is the Mac, on the right-hand side is Windows, and I've also included the icon. Personally, the Mac icon is far friendlier looking. It is the smiling face, and if you look closely, it's actually two smiling faces. If you take away the blue side, you now see the smiling face in profile. Fun little tidbit. Right next to it, you can see what the left-hand side of Finder looks like whenever you open it up. And consequently, right next to that, you can see the Windows File Explorer, and they look incredibly similar. You'll notice that both will have things on the left-hand side, like desktop, documents, downloads, basically any folder that you constantly access. It will be present on the left-hand side whenever you open up Finder or File Explorer. And on the far right, you'll see the icon for File Explorer. Windows didn't stray too far from the actual folder and cabinet analogy. It's just a file folder that, you know, they update every couple of years to kind of make it look different for the sake of being different. And this is just pricing in case anyone was interested in that, but we will look at that later. All right, so files and folders. This is my Windows desktop that I'm remoted into. And you can see in the bottom of the screen, this is the folder icon. If I click on it, it opens up File Explorer. By default, it will open up your home page, which will have anything you have set as a favorite. It will also set things you have recently used, and it will also have recent download or interacted with files below. On the left-hand side, you can see that we have the desktop, downloads, documents, pictures, basically anything that is automatically pinned as a folder that you constantly access. Right below it, you can see this PC, any USB devices you have plugged in, and network. So these are networked attached devices. In this case, I'm just going to click on this PC. One of the things I like to do, or I like to have people do, is I like them to see how much storage that they're currently using before they are worried about their storage space. In this case, once clicking on this PC, I can see that my computer is using not that much. I have 366 gigabytes free out of 473, signified by this little blue line, which means I have all of this space, the gray part, free. So I don't need to worry about how much storage my computer is using at the moment. Now, how do you create a folder? I'm just going to use the desktop for this example. And if you remember the second slide of the presentation, I like people to just think about right-clicking in every instance. So if I take my mouse and right-click, it brings up a little contextual menu. And if I go to New Folder, it will create a folder. It will then prompt me to name it or change the name, which you can see by the title of it being in blue. And I have just created a folder. To go into the folder, I just double click on it. So that's left click twice. And I can now see inside of that folder. Gonna make it a little bit bigger. If I want to create another folder, I can right click, New Folder. Another folder. Do we have any questions on how to create a folder? Nope.
Where, well,
Yep.
where did you create it though? Is it on your desktop or is it in the iCloud or is it in another place? So you created a folder, but where'd you create it? On your desktop? Just
Yeah, so that's actually a really good question. So I created the new folder for library. I created that on my desktop. And then I created another folder inside of that folder. But that's not the whole story. If I click on the top bar, which in Windows shows me exactly where I am, you can see that it's actually in C Drive, Users, T. Brezovic, OneDrive, Desktop, New Folder to Library. That is where another folder is located. This is because whenever you are creating a folder or something, it will generally go under your profile. So multiple people can use a computer, which is why whenever you create something, it will go first under your user account. So once you log into the user account, it is in your desktop. So that's where I created the folder. And because I have OneDrive turned on, my desktop is actually taken care of by OneDrive. So anything I put in my desktop will automatically be uploaded to OneDrive for backing up and syncing purposes.
Okay.
So if I just click on OneDrive on the left-hand side, it's kind of difficult to see, but it's basically just a cloud icon, a little blue cloud. You can see these are all the folders I have in my OneDrive. So these are all the folders that I can see on my computer. If we look at the name, we can see what they're named, all the folders. If I scroll down, you'll also get to see some documents that I have not placed in folders. Now, if you look directly to the right of that, you can see these little icons. This is because I'm utilizing OneDrive. So you can see under Status, I have a little blue cloud. What that means is that there are items in this folder that are not actually on my computer. They just present as if they're on the computer. For an example, I have a cloud icon in this folder named Peg. If I open it up, I can see a couple of screenshots I took. If I look at each file in this folder, right next to it, it has a similar icon. So a little cloud, this one has a green check mark. This is a cloud, 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 cloud. What this means is all of these files are not, that have the cloud, are not actually on my computer, but they are online. But since I am online, if I open it, it will then download the file and present it to me. So that's one way it's saving my computer some space, is by having these files, which I have honestly not looked at in over a year. It just kept them in the cloud and it didn't download them right away. Now you can see that I opened up Broadcast Pics New Show View image. Now it has a green check mark, which shows that it is currently on my computer. If I go backwards, which I can go up and back by going to the top left and hitting the back button, which is an arrow pointing to the left, and look at this folder. If I now right click on it, I can select always keep on this device. If I select that option, you can see the icon is now a solid green circle with a check mark. If I open this, now I see all of these icons are solid green. What that means is that anything that's in this folder, because it's solid green, anything that's in this folder will be permanently downloaded onto my computer. And no matter what, it will not remove it from my computer, even if I don't use those files. So that is how you would specify to a cloud storage provider to always have those files available on your computer, even if you haven't used them in a while. Does anyone have any questions about that? Cloud storage is a pretty intense concept, so I'm not going to go too deeply into it because we have a class dedicated to cloud storage. But it's good to have a little overview because it is very tightly integrated with how you will use files and folders in your everyday life going forward.
Tim, this is Tish. I have a question.
Yep.
That the file you just downloaded onto your computer, you said it's permanently on your computer. If at any time in the future you wanted to remove it, could you do that?
100%.
Okay. Thank you.
I can go to that same file, right click, and go to delete, and it will delete it from my computer. It will also tell OneDrive that I have decided to delete that folder, or sorry, delete that file, and then it will also delete it in OneDrive.
What if you didn't want to delete it in OneDrive and you just wanted to delete it from your computer?
Then you could still right click on it, go to always keep on this device, and uncheck it. And then if it wanted to, it would remove it from your computer, but keep it in OneDrive.
Okay, thank you.
You can also specify and just hit free up space, which will automatically pop it into the cloud. But you will still see it on the computer. It just won't be downloaded to the computer.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm just trying to find some files. So if I want to move things around, so move some files.
Hey Tim, can you go to full screen on your folder or like that? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I can also try and make it a little bit bigger. Let me do that real quick.
Definitely.
There we go. Everything should be a little bit bigger. All right. So if I want to move things around, does anyone remember how I would do that? What the first thing is to do?
Right click.
Right click. There we go. All right, so let's find something to move. We'll just do this. All right, so I have the folder peg that I have open, and I have all of these files. So there are a couple of ways to move all of these files. I can move them individually by dragging and dropping, but I don't like that. I can select the file, right click on it, and go to cut, which will remove it from this location, and I can paste it somewhere else. Or I can go to copy, which will copy it and also paste it somewhere else, so that file will exist in two places at once. But if I want to move all of them at once, that isn't very efficient. So there are two main ways that I can do this. I can left click and then drag my mouse and create this selection tool and select all of these items. That's one way to select. My preferred method is to click on the first item, hold Shift on my keyboard, and left click, and it will select everything that's in between those 2 points. Now if I right click, I'm actively messing around with everything that I've selected. I can hit copy up at the top. I can go to a different folder. So pictures. And now I can right click and I can paste. And it has now copied and pasted all of these files to this additional location. Now, if I just wanted to move the entire folder, the process is the exact same. I would right click on the folder. I would go to copy. I would go to where I want to save it. I would right click and I would go to paste. And now I have copied the folder and all of its contents over to a new location. Are there any questions about using copy and paste in that way? Okay. One last thing I'd like to show you is, let's say you have a lot of items. I'm just copying and pasting real quick. Let's say you have a lot of items, and selecting the first item, going down, selecting the last item by holding Shift. That's too much stuff. You don't actually want to move all of those items. You only want to move specific ones. How do you do that? Well, in Windows, you would select Control, hold Control down, and then click on the items that you want to move. So I've selected the items I want to copy, paste, or cut. I will take my finger off the control button. You can see I have a variety of items selected. Right click, copy, go to where I want to save them, right click, paste. And now I have moved just a selection of items over here. On Mac, it is a similar process, except I would use the Command key to select various items specifically. And then right click, copy, and then I can paste, just like in Windows. Any questions about moving files and folders? All right. So real quickly, I will go back over here, close it. I will then open File Explorer again by clicking in the bottom. I will scroll down now that my screen is supersized. Click on this PC, and I can see how much space I have. So the next question is it the exact same process when using a Mac? And the answer is no. For a Mac, the easiest way to determine how much storage space you have is to go to the top left of the screen with the little Apple icon. Click on that. Click on About This Mac. Go to More Info. And then scroll down to Storage. Click on Storage Settings. And give it a minute. And basically this top bar you're seeing that says Macintosh hard drive, it will show you how much data you have used. So I have 440 roughly gigabytes used of 990. So a little less than half used. And it will also have little kind of bar chart type things that will show me how much storage space each type of file is taking up. So my documents are taking up 156 gigs, applications, music creation, I'm not sure what the difference is, system data, and Mac OS. So I can kind of see where all of my data is going and how much I have free, which is more than enough, and I don't need to worry about it at this moment. All right, so the next thing is creating a file, right? So I have created a Notepad document called test. But because I wasn't paying attention, I have absolutely no idea where I saved it. Does anyone know how I would find the document? And just to be clear, it's kind of a tricky answer that I'm going to give you. But does anyone have an idea of how they would find the document? No idea. Perfect. Well, the first thought people might have is, well, I can see that the document is labeled test. So I'm just going to go to my computer and search test. And the computer will find it after a minute of it searching every single file that exists on the computer. May take more than a minute. Maybe it'll take a couple minutes. Perfect. All right, it's starting to give me results. Ooh, I probably should have named it something a little less generic than test. Because so far it has been searching and it has found, if you look in the bottom left of this window, 229 items, 234 items, and it just keeps going up and up and up. And none of these are the document that I want. So search will work great if you have a very non-generic title of a document. But in this context, it's not working so well. So how I generally like to find documents like this are I will create a new document. One thing that both Windows and Mac programs and operating systems do is they are a real big fan of going to the last place you saved something. So if you created a Word document, saved it, and then you have no recollection of where it could be, what I like to do is create a new document, and this works just the same in Notepad. Create a new document, test2, go to File, go to Save. Oh, look, this is the document that I was looking for, because it's trying to save it in the exact same location, which is the last location I saved something. So I can see that this is my original document, and it is in Desktop New Folder. Perfect. So I can either just right-click on this and kind of open it or do whatever I want to it. But it has now shown me exactly where it is. So users, tRezovic, OneDrive, desktop, new folder. So I will cancel out of this. Okay. Desktop, new folder, double click, test. Here's where the document is. So I have found where it is located. It's a little roundabout way, but I have found that this, just trying to save a new document, is by far the least amount of thinking I have to do in order to find a document. And it's the exact same way if you download a file. By default, all of your downloads will go to your downloads folder. But if you decide that you want to save something that you downloaded in a different location, then the next time you download a file, it will save it in that different location. So one of the things I always like to do is I like to have things save in their default locations, and then I will manually move it after if I want to organize it. By leaving it be the default location, I've found it's a lot easier to find files going forward. Any questions about saving a file?
What's the default location? What would that be?
For downloading something, it would be in Downloads. The default location for saving something would be Documents.
Uh-huh.
So as you can see, whenever I saved this file, the test, I actually went to Save As, and I changed where the save location would be, which would cause me a little bit of issues if the next time I'm actually creating a document I want to save, it now goes to Desktop New Folder, when in my head, everything is normally going to Documents folder.
When you go to documents, will it show them in the order they went in there? Or will it alphabetize them?
It will sort by however you want to. So right now, it may be kind of difficult for you to see, but name, status, date modified, type, size. Under name, there's like a tiny little arrow. That
Yeah.
means it's currently sorting by title or by the name.
Okay,
But if I wanted to, I could click on date modified, and now it is sorting by date modified.
okay. Okay, because I sometimes do this thing if I download something and then I'll want to save it and I won't pay attention to where I saved it. And it goes off and I go, oh, shoot. And now I have to do I do like go to the download file first, but that's good to know the documents. I could go to documents and it would be there.
Yep,
Alright.
and it's the exact same way on Mac.
Be careful when
Date added
something.
or name, you can basically just click on it to select how you want the folder to show you the files.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Mhm.
So one of the things you may be wondering is, if I kind of know where my stuff exists, instead of searching the entire computer, can I search kind of a smaller area and find it? And that's kind of exactly what search is good for, is whenever you are in a smaller area. So I know everything I save goes to OneDrive. Now, if I search, it will still give me a lot, but it will only search for items in that folder. so it'll be easier to find it. So I can see that I've found the folder or the document right here because I'm only finding 13 results as opposed to the couple hundred that I found if I searched the entire computer. Okay. So if I go to downloads, so I went to File Explorer and then downloads, I can see all the downloads I've done on this Windows computer so far. And I can see I downloaded this picture today, but oftentimes whenever people use a web browser, they will just download files kind of willy-nilly, right? And then just by default, it'll go to your downloads folder, but it doesn't always because you saved it somewhere special. So if you download things using a web browser, you can go to the top right of it, downloads, and it will show you what you have recently downloaded. And you can also go to all downloads, show all downloads, click on that. And it will show me if I, use this browser a lot, I would have a lot more stuff in it. But history downloads, it will have an entire list of every file you've downloaded using that web browser. And then they will have a very nice icon on the right-hand side, which is a little folder. If I select that icon and click it, it will take me exactly where that file is located. So if I'm downloading files and saving them in different locations using my web browser, I can just go directly to my web browser, go to downloads, and then click on the folder to show in folder of the item I'm looking for. Any questions about finding a file that you've either created or downloaded? Perfect. All right. Are there any questions in general? I kind of went over everything I wanted to, but definitely if there's any more things that people would like me to show them how to do, whether it be on Windows or Mac, we have about 15 minutes remaining for any questions you might have on anything that was discussed. And if there are no questions, I will go on to pricing of cloud stuff, just as a very end amuse-bouche.
Yeah, I have a question about zip files.
Okay.
And how do you make a zip file? How do you send a zip file?
Sure thing. So,
Because zip files are for large, lots of stuff, right? Is that correct? For emailing a lot of data.
so zip files are for, yeah, it compresses stuff a little bit. Zip files are mainly used as a way of combining things together so that you're not downloading 100 things, you're only downloading the zip file kind of thing. Instead of linking or sending an email with 100 attachments, you're only attaching one thing. I think it's used more for convenience these days as opposed to storage saving. One thing to note about zip files and email specifically is with all the antivirus stuff built into emails these days, some email providers do not like zip files because it's not abundantly clear what the files in the zip file are doing. So sometimes it'll mark it as spam or another word for saying untrustworthy. That being said, I'm just going to quickly delete all of these so I can do this again. Delete. I'm just going to copy these files, copy pictures right here and paste. All right. So I have all of these documents, files that I would like to put in a zip folder. I right click and I go to, in Windows, I go to compress to and zip file. And it has now compressed all of those into a zip file. I can see the zip file right here. One thing I'd like to double check is if I select all of these by using Shift and I go to Properties, I can see that all of these six files equal 9.99 megabytes. So 10. We'll just say that's 10. If I look at the zip file, and I can just do this by hovering over it, I don't know if you can read that, but it says size 9.87 megabytes. So it didn't necessarily save that much space, but it does mean whenever I go to attach this to an email, I'm only attaching one thing as opposed to 6 things. Did that kind of answer the questions you had about zip files?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So I'll quickly switch back to this slideshow. And I'll just talk about this for a minute. I talked about at the very beginning data storage for cloud. And oftentimes on Wednesdays, which anyone can always show up Wednesdays, noon to 1, sign up and talk to me directly about a specific issue you're having. But people will come in often and ask me about the scary message that has shown up on their computer or phone. And it's basically saying you're running out of storage space. And most of the times people are showing me that message. What the message is talking about is the cloud storage. So as you can see, OneDrive, Google Drive, iCloud, Dropbox, we're going to pretend that only 4 exist in the world. They give you various amounts for free. So 5 gig, 15, 5, 2. But once you have used up that space, it will start saying very scary warnings that you're losing. You're gonna, your data is gonna be at risk because you're running out of storage space. And then they want you to pay money. And for OneDrive, generally for 1 terabyte, $10 a month. Google Drive, 2 terabytes, $10 a month. iCloud, 2 terabytes, $10 a month. And the $10 a month price, I like to refer to it as the don't bother me again price, or I don't want to think about this price. If you pay that amount of money, you generally just don't have to think about the amount of storage you take up. It's more than enough storage for the vast majority of people. So if you're willing to pay $10 to have all of your files and folders kind of backed up and protected against loss in that way, I generally recommend not thinking about it too much, and just, paying the extortion fee with a smile on your face. But yeah, any questions? We have 9 minutes left. Feel free. I don't know if anything I said caused Rebecca to have a question or anything like that, or Rebecca can give an experience with files and folders or something she's found useful in the past. But yeah.
Oh, no, Jen, I actually learned some things today, so this was great.
Tim, I have a question. This is Tish.
Okay.
I have a Samsung tablet and I don't know how old it is. It's several years old. And it's telling me I'm out of storage space. I tried to read a book on it from iCloud last night. iCloud couldn't open. I tried to read some books from my Kindle app on it. It wouldn't open. So I've been having trouble with it. I don't know how to deal with that situation.
Yeah. So Android phones are kind of similar. They also have the ability to check how much storage space you're using. In this context, you would go to settings, which is the gear icon. You would then go to storage, which should be on the first page of settings as long as you scroll down and up a little bit. And it will tell you how much storage you're using and how much of each file type is taking up storage. So we have apps, games, images, videos, trash, audio, documents, etc., etc. Basically, figure out what the biggest number is, go there and try to delete some things. On somewhat older phones, they often did not have an incredible amount of space on them. So it is very reasonable to have filled that up after a couple of years.
This is a tablet, though. It's not a phone.
Yep, same operating system.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right.
Unless
try
it's a
that.
Windows tablet, but I'm pretty sure with the Samsung tablet, it'll be using Android.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and you can always drop by Wednesday and I can physically look at it with you.
Okay. Thank you.
How do you sign up to? All right, well, if we don't have any more questions, maybe we'll head out. And just remember that, for if you want to drop in, on Wednesdays, Tim is here at noon. There will be a sign up sheet outside of, the study room that he's in. It's first come, first serve. And so you just write your name down and then he will, get to you when it is your turn. If you have any questions, you can always ask the person at the help desk.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you, Tim. That was great. I learned some things and thank you everybody for coming. Thank you.
Thanks very much, everybody.
Alright.